Zara Adebayo stared at her laptop screen late into the night, the glow illuminating her high cheekbones and sharp jawline. Outside her apartment in Lagos, the city buzzed with traffic horns and the distant hum of generators. On any other night, Zara would have been finalizing a pitch deck for her tech startup or sending instructions to her assistant, Tola. But tonight, she was fixated on one email, an invitation to her brother Uche's upcoming wedding in Enugu. She felt an odd swirl of emotions, remembering childhood days in Enugu before she moved to Lagos to build her empire. Estrangement had grown like a stubborn weed between her and Uche these past few years. They rarely spoke except for polite, formal calls. Yet here it was, a wedding invite, complete with colorful text and a date that was just 3 weeks away. Zara sighed and closed her eyes. Why now? She glanced over at her phone. Tola had texted. Tola, text all good for the day? Need anything else before I sleep? Zara, text we might have a trip to Enugu soon. I'll update you tomorrow. She put the phone down and reread the email. A single line caught her attention. Zara, please come. It's time we let go of the past. Part of her wanted to ignore it. She was too busy with her startup, too busy forging partnerships with American investors, and too busy being the unstoppable Zara Adebayo. But a tiny voice, maybe from her childhood, whispered that some things were more important than her corporate empire. Memories of the old compound in Enugu, the smell of Mama's jollof rice, and late-night laughter with Uche flooded her mind. She closed her laptop, heart pounding. Could she even handle the emotional weight of going back? She stood up, pacing her stylish but cramped apartment. Moments later, she steeled herself and answered the invitation. One decisive click, and the email soared through cyberspace. Zara, email reply I'll be there. Her heart thudded, as though she had just set a major life change in motion. In a way, she had. For better or worse, Zara Adebayo would return to Enugu and face the past that she had left behind. Days blurred into a flurry of phone calls, finalizing details for her startup, and preparing for Uche's wedding. Tola booked their tickets for Enugu. Zara insisted on the latest evening flight. She hated early mornings, and she had too many loose ends to tie up. When they arrived at Murtala Muhammad Airport in Lagos, Zara breathed in the climate-controlled air that carried that familiar tang of coffee from the nearby cafe. Tola, her best friend and assistant, lugged a heavy carry-on close behind. Tola, you sure we can't ship these gifts to Enugu first? This bag weighs a ton. Zara, smiling slightly, we'll manage. Just remember we're only there for a week or two. Tola, right. And in that short time, I'm sure chaos awaits. Zara shrugged. Chaos was her specialty. She thrived under pressure, until she didn't. Soon, an announcement crackled over the intercom. Their flight was delayed an hour. Zara cursed under her breath, rummaging in her handbag for her phone. She had half a mind to check emails or respond to Slack messages from her startup team. Meanwhile, another passenger sighed loudly behind her. His voice carried a blend of frustration and humor. Zara turned to see a tall man in a casual linen shirt, pulling his carry-on with nonchalant grace. Stranger, another delay, eh? At least they have decent suya near gate 4. Zara gave a polite nod, not in the mood for small talk. But Tola recognized him immediately. Tola, whispering, that's Chijio Nwankwo. CJ from Enugu Radio FM. My aunt can't stop talking about him. Zara, a radio host? Great, a professional talker. Tola, amused, relax, you never know when you might need some local help in Enugu. Zara ignored Tola's teasing. She settled into a seat, focusing on her phone and her carefully curated tech updates. Little did she know that this radio host would soon be more than a random face at the airport. When they finally boarded, the universe had a sense of humor. The seat next to Zara's was taken by none other than the charming stranger from earlier. He introduced himself as CJ with an easy smile. CJ, small world. Or maybe just a small plane. Zara, let's just hope it's a smooth flight. They barely spoke after that, each lost in their own thoughts. But every so often, Zara caught CJ humming a catchy tune under his breath. She tried to ignore him, but the melody was oddly comforting. Despite her best efforts to remain aloof, she felt the stirrings of curiosity. An hour later, the plane took off into the night sky. Zara tried to rest, but sleep wouldn't come. Something about this trip already felt different, like she was on a path to confront more than just a wedding. And something about the stranger beside her, CJ, reminded her that life was rarely predictable. The plane landed at Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, well past midnight. Zara and Tola navigated the baggage claim, dragging suitcases filled with wedding presents, personal electronics, and anxious hopes. Outside, the air was cool but carried the scent of diesel from rickety airport taxis. Exhausted and impatient, Zara watched as Tola bartered with a taxi driver who insisted the cost had doubled because of the late hour. Nearby, CJ was greeting someone, a stocky man with a cheerful grin, and they laughed heartily before driving off in a sleek Toyota Corolla. Zara felt a tiny pang of envy for that easy, welcoming smile. Tola, approaching, we have a taxi, but the driver charges more at night. Zara, fine. Let's just go. I want to get some sleep before I face the family tomorrow. The ride to the Adebayo family compound took forever, winding through the quieter streets of Enugu, past shuttered shops and dimly lit roadside bars. Chaos started the moment they arrived. Half-asleep security guards fumbled to open the gates. Once inside, the headlights revealed an overgrown lawn, half-constructed wedding decorations, and piles of plastic chairs scattered about. Aunties and cousins rushed out in wrappers and hairnets, hugging Zara with the kind of boisterous laughter that only close family can produce at 2 a.m. Aunt Stella, Zara, my daughter, you're finally here. Oh, look at you, all big city now. Cousin Amaka, Auntie, come in, come in. Where's Tola? Or should I say your personal assistant? Tola offered a playful wave, looking both flattered and overwhelmed. Everyone seemed to talk at once, peppering Zara with questions about Lagos and her business. She felt the swirl of family energy envelop her, a mixture of warmth and overstimulation. Then Uche appeared at the doorway. He was leaner than she remembered, with tension etched into his brow. His fiancée, who was presumably inside, did not come out. For a moment, brother and sister locked eyes. Uche, you made it. Thank you for coming. Zara, softly, congratulations, Uche. I'm happy for you. It was a stiff embrace, awkward yet tinged with unspoken relief. The hush that fell over the crowd was telling. Everyone knew their estrangement had weighed heavily on the family. Soon, though, they retreated inside. Laughter resumed, overshadowing the tension. The next morning promised an early start. Decorations needed overseeing, the caterers would arrive, and extended family would pour in. Zara's phone buzzed as she climbed the stairs to her old bedroom, an email from a potential investor. She caught herself sighing, torn between familial obligations and her devotion to her tech dream. Still, she managed a small smile at Tola. Zara, welcome to chaos. Tola, smiling, I say bring it on. Little did Zara know, the real chaos was only beginning. Morning sunlight spilled into the living room, and outside, the courtyard buzzed with wedding planners, caterers, and shouting relatives. The weekend was going to be a blur, and Zara could already feel a headache building behind her eyes. Still wearing a casual blouse and jeans, she ventured out to find a cup of tea. Tola had gone ahead, probably to coordinate some logistics. To Zara's surprise, CJ stood in the living room, conversing animatedly with a group of older men about music for the wedding. CJ, good morning. We meet again, Ms. Adebayo. Zara, raising an eyebrow, you're the wedding MC? CJ, and the DJ, if they need me to be. But primarily the MC, yes. I've known Uche for a while. Sparks flew immediately, not the romantic kind, but that undercurrent of tension that comes when two strong personalities collide. Zara wanted the wedding to be perfect, efficient, and well-managed. CJ, on the other hand, seemed laid back, charming the aunties with jokes and promises to make the event fun for all. Zara, just ensure everything runs on schedule, okay? This wedding is important, and we don't need any comedic detours. CJ, smirking, I assure you, I'm quite professional. Even a bit of laughter can't hurt, can it? She rolled her eyes and turned to leave, but CJ followed her into the courtyard. Flower arrangements were half finished, and the caterer was arguing with one of Zara's cousins. It was a scene of barely controlled chaos. CJ, look, I get that you want perfection. But sometimes letting go of a little control can lead to more beautiful moments. Zara, coldly, I'm not here to let go, I'm here to make sure my brother's wedding isn't a disaster. She marched away, only to run into Uche, who was fiddling with seating charts. Uche, I see you've met CJ. He's one of the best MCs around, guests love him. Zara, we'll see about that. Where's your bride? Uche hesitated, then gestured toward a corner of the courtyard where a petite young woman was flipping through wedding magazines with Tola. Zara's gaze softened, maybe she could build a bond with her soon-to-be sister-in-law. But her mood soured again when she noticed CJ across the yard, entertaining a small group with an exaggerated story. She muttered under her breath that the wedding should not become a circus. In truth, she was unsettled by how easily CJ seemed to fit in, how he drew people in with his effortless charm. Tola sidled up to Zara, noticing her frown. Tola, he's handsome, he's friendly, and he's making the bride laugh. That's not so bad, right? Zara, biting her lip. Tola, I don't have time for distractions. Let's just keep everything on track. Despite her protests, the clash between her controlling nature and CJ's easygoing style was evident to everyone present, like two storms colliding and threatening to reshape the entire day's atmosphere. After spending most of the morning wrangling florists and checking on caterers, Zara retreated to a quieter corner of the compound. A text from her startup's operations manager in Lagos read, "Emergency meeting in 10 minutes. Major glitch in the app." She hurried to her old bedroom, shut the door, and connected to the video call. Faces filled her screen, her management team, looking tense. Operations manager, Zara, we have a problem. The new update crashed for half our users. Social media is on fire. Zara, have we deployed the hotfix? Operations manager, not yet. The dev team is on it, but we might lose a major investor if this doesn't get resolved quickly. She felt a surge of panic. Her business was everything, her ticket to an international stage, her proof that she was more than just the girl from Enugu. She rattled off a series of instructions, telling them to keep her updated every hour. No sooner did she hang up than an email from a Silicon Valley venture capitalist popped into her inbox. VC email, we're intrigued by your startup. We'd like to see a full financial breakdown before moving forward. Her heart hammered. This was the chance she'd been working for, a potential multi-million-dollar investment. But could she juggle a family wedding and a tech meltdown simultaneously? Zara, muttering, yes, I can do both. I have to. Just then, a soft knock sounded on her door. She hesitated, then opened it a crack to find Tola. Tola, it's time for the wedding rehearsal. Are you okay? You look worried. Zara, we have a crisis at the startup. I'll manage, but let's keep it between us, okay? Tola, no problem. But if you need help, I'm here. Zara nodded, grateful for Tola's loyalty. She stepped out into the hallway, quickly composing herself. Work would always be there, the wedding was a one-time event. She had to make sure the wedding didn't fall apart, just like she had to ensure her startup didn't implode. Balancing both was starting to feel like riding a unicycle on a tightrope. As she made her way downstairs, she wondered if CJ had this many complications in his life. Probably not, she thought wryly. Then again, illusions could be deceptive, everyone had their own battles. Zara just hoped she could keep her worlds from crashing into each other. While Zara was busy with her phone and wedding to-do lists, CJ had his own obligations. He visited his mother, Mama Ebra, at their modest bungalow just a few blocks away from the Adebayo compound. She was a retired teacher with kind eyes and a heart full of love for her only son. Mama Ebra, so, how's the wedding planning going? Uche told me you're the MC. CJ, smiling, it's going well, Mama. The bride is sweet, the groom's anxious, and Zara, his sister, is quite the character. Mama Ebra's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Mama Ebra, Zara? Who is she? Oh, the big sister from Lagos. I heard she's a tech mogul. CJ, yes, very focused and intense. A bit distant, if you ask me. Mama Ebra nodded sagely, sipping her tea. She had a habit of making mental lists, people she wanted to pray for, matchmake, or gently guide. With her motherly intuition, she sensed there was more to CJ's interest in Zara than he realized. Mama Ebra, sometimes, strong women are hiding painful pasts. You, of all people, should understand that. CJ winced. His ex, Mfon, had been fierce and independent until their relationship crumbled. He still carried the scars of that heartbreak. CJ, we're just two individuals working on the same wedding, Mama. Don't start matchmaking. Mama Ebra gave a knowing smile. She reached for her worn Bible on the coffee table and added Zara's name to a small notepad she kept tucked inside. In neat handwriting, she wrote, Zara Adebayo, open her heart. Mama Ebra, just remember, my son, sometimes blessings come in unexpected ways. CJ sighed, hugging her gently before heading off to finalize details for the rehearsal dinner. He felt a certain pull toward Zara's story, especially with the glimpses of vulnerability behind her cold exterior. But he brushed aside the thought, telling himself that if Zara's walls were too tall to climb, that was none of his concern. Little did he know, Mama Ebra's prayers often had a way of stirring up the waters of fate. And Zara, unaware of the sweet older woman's intentions, was about to find herself on Mama Ebra's personal prayer list. At the family compound, the rehearsal dinner was set to take place under the large mango tree in the backyard. That tree had witnessed countless family gatherings, birthdays, graduations, and now a wedding. Strings of fairy lights hung from the branches, casting a soft glow on the wooden tables laid out below. Zara observed everything from a distance, ensuring the music equipment was set up properly. CJ stood by the DJ's table, testing the microphone. Uncle Greg, a friendly but mysterious relative, beckoned CJ away for a private chat. Uncle Greg, you're close to Uche, aren't you? CJ, we've been friends for years. Why do you ask? Uncle Greg took a deep breath, glancing around to ensure no one was listening. Uncle Greg, there's something about the Adebayo family that Uche might not have told you. Zara, she had a terrible fallout with her father before he passed. It left a scar. CJ's eyes widened. CJ, I knew they were estranged, but I didn't realize it was that bad. Uncle Greg, people think Zara's just cold and ambitious. Truth is, she's carrying guilt. She blames herself for not reconciling with her father before he died. CJ swallowed hard, empathy flooding him. He looked over at Zara, who was busy directing staff. CJ, that explains a lot. Uncle Greg, you're a good man, CJ. Maybe you can help her see that she's worthy of forgiveness and love. CJ nodded, moved by the story. He felt a stirring inside, a protective instinct he hadn't felt in a long time. Moments later, he returned to the DJ's table and tested the mic again. CJ, testing mic 1 2 1 2. Good evening, everyone. Zara glanced at him, expression guarded but curious. As guests arrived, the gentle melodies of high-life music floated through the air. Long tables showcased an array of local dishes. The bride and groom arrived arm in arm, followed by a wave of laughter and lively chatter. CJ watched as Zara moved around with forced politeness, hugging relatives she hadn't seen in years. An aura of sadness clung to her. He remembered Uncle Greg's words about guilt and a father's unresolved tension. After the dinner, when the crowd thinned out, CJ found Zara standing under the mango tree alone, her arms folded. He approached slowly. CJ, everything went well tonight. The wedding is looking good. Zara, softly yes. Thank you. She didn't say more, but the silence between them felt charged with unspoken truths. CJ, look, I heard about your father. I'm sorry. She stiffened, eyes narrowing in suspicion. Zara, I don't want your pity or your curiosity. CJ, it's neither. Just understanding, if you ever need it. Zara's eyes flickered. For a second, he thought she might open up, but then she turned abruptly and walked away, leaving him with the gentle rustle of mango leaves overhead, and the weight of a secret that would soon change both their lives. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, haunted by the day's events, Uncle Greg's probing looks, and the knowledge that her startup crisis was still unresolved. Finally, she got out of bed and ventured downstairs to make herself a cup of tea. While she waited for the water to boil, she turned on a small radio perched on the kitchen counter, hoping for some soothing music. Instead, a familiar voice resonated through the speakers. CJ's voice, on air. Good evening, Enugu. This is Late Nights with CJ, where we talk about love, loss, and legacy. Zara froze, recognizing the vibrant tone. She leaned against the counter, listening intently. CJ's show is well known for its candid phone-ins about personal problems. Tonight, a woman called in, sobbing about a broken relationship with her sister. Caller, crying, we haven't spoken in years. I want to fix things, but I don't know where to start. CJ, softly, they say blood is thicker than water, but sometimes you need more than that. You need understanding, and you need to be willing to admit your part in the pain. Start with an apology, a small step, and see where it leads. Zara felt a lump in her throat. She remembered her own estranged relationship with Uche. They had never truly resolved the past, she'd just shown up for the wedding out of duty. CJ, continuing, we don't get second chances forever. Life is short. If you have a chance to make it right, do it. Zara turned off the radio abruptly. She couldn't handle how his words struck too close to home. That voice was sincere, wise, and so different from the teasing tone he used around her. She took her cup of tea back to her bedroom, feeling unsettled. Was CJ always this introspective, or was it just an on-air persona? And why did she suddenly want to confide in him, of all people? Sleep eventually overcame her, but not before her mind replayed CJ's words over and over. The next day would bring more wedding errands, and more emotional juggling. Morning broke with the sound of bickering caterers and the tangy smell of palm oil and spices. Zara found herself roped into a trip to the local market with CJ and Tola. They needed to pick up extra firewood for the outdoor cooking station. Apparently, the caterer insisted on the smoky flavor that only firewood could provide. The market was a cacophony of vendors hawking goods, from fresh produce to second-hand clothing. People bustled past in a blur of bright colors and rhythmic banter. CJ, grinning, let's split up. Tola, you handle the vegetables. Zara, you're with me for the firewood. Zara, fine, but let's make this quick. They navigated through narrow alleys lined with sacks of rice and beans. At the firewood stall, an elderly woman greeted them warmly, but her prices were sky-high. Zara tried to negotiate, but CJ stepped in with charm. CJ, in Igbo, gently teasing Mama, please help us. The wedding is tomorrow, and we need the best price. She eyed CJ, eventually breaking into a toothless smile. She shaved off a good portion of the cost. Zara, raising an eyebrow, impressive. So, you do more than just talk on the radio. CJ, it's a skill, sometimes you have to speak someone's language. Works better than being too formal. Zara, softening, I guess so. They loaded the firewood onto a hired truck. As they waited for Tola, they wandered down a side path lined with roasted corn stands. CJ bought them each an ear of corn, insisting it was the best in Enugu. CJ, so, tell me about your startup. Must be serious if you're fielding calls every hour. Zara, hesitant. It's a tech company focusing on mobile financial solutions. There's a glitch right now, it's stressful. But I'll sort it out. CJ, and after the wedding, you head back to Lagos? Zara, that's the plan, unless I have to fly to the US for investor meetings. CJ nodded, looking thoughtful. CJ, you know, sometimes we chase success so hard, we forget to pause and breathe. You ever think about slowing down? Zara smiled thinly. Zara, slowing down isn't in my DNA. If I stop, I might think too much, about things I'd rather not. A brief silence hung between them, thick with unspoken truths. In that moment, Zara realized how easy it felt to talk to CJ when she let her guard down. The roasted corn crackled between her teeth, and for once, the city's chaos felt almost comforting. CJ, well, you can always talk if you need to. She nodded, genuinely touched. Before the conversation could deepen, Tola appeared, carrying bags of vegetables. They headed back to the compound, both aware that something had shifted, an intangible step toward understanding. Even if they wouldn't admit it to each other yet. Afternoon turned to evening in a blink. The final wedding preparations were underway, the canopies were set, the flowers arranged, and the chairs lined up. Zara was reviewing a checklist when CJ walked in, looking unsettled. CJ, we have a complication. Zara, concerned. What now? CJ, my ex, Vaughn, just showed up. She's in town, apparently on some business. She might attend the wedding since her cousin is a friend of Uche's. Zara felt an unexpected pang. Why did this news bother her so much? She covered it with a nonchalant shrug. Zara, that's interesting. Are you okay with it? CJ, I'm fine. It was just a surprise. In truth, CJ was anything but fine. Vaughn's sudden return stirred up old emotions, regret, heartbreak, and lingering what-ifs. He tried to focus on the wedding tasks, but found his mind drifting. Later that evening, a hush fell over the courtyard when Vaughn herself arrived. She was tall, elegant, and had the poise of someone used to commanding a room's attention. Her eyes met CJ's with a flicker of tension. Vaughn, CJ. It's been a while. I heard you're the MC. CJ, tight smile. Yes, for Uche's wedding. He's a friend. Zara watched from a distance, an uneasy twist in her stomach. Tola, noticing Zara's expression, nudged her. Tola, whispering jealous, much? Zara, of course not. Yet, she found it difficult to concentrate on the chore lists. The sight of Vaughn made her painfully aware that CJ had a past, a life beyond this wedding, and it rattled her more than she cared to admit. As Vaughn moved around the courtyard, greeting people with practiced warmth, CJ visibly retreated into himself. Zara approached him, cautious. Zara, do you need a break? We can handle things for a bit. CJ, forcing a grin. I'm all right. Just old memories. She nodded, suddenly empathizing. How many old memories of her own had returned to haunt her this week? They stood side by side in silence, each weighed down by emotional baggage. Behind them, Vaughn cast a lingering glance. The air crackled with unspoken tension. In the swirl of wedding madness, another storm was brewing, one that threatened to unearth all the vulnerabilities they had tried so hard to keep hidden. Night fell with a moon so bright it lit the courtyard like a lantern. Zara, feeling restless, found herself wandering toward the mango tree. She was startled to find CJ there, staring at the sky, his expression distant. CJ, couldn't sleep? Zara, sighing. Too much on my mind. They stood in silence, the soft chirping of crickets filling the gaps. Finally, Zara spoke, her voice subdued. Zara, about my father. I don't talk about it, but I know people whisper. CJ remained quiet, giving her the space to speak. Zara, he and I had an argument before I left for Lagos. He said some things, that I was ungrateful, that I valued money and success more than family. We never reconciled. He died suddenly. I never said I was sorry. Her voice caught, raw with pain she rarely let surface. CJ reached out, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. CJ, that's a heavy burden to carry alone. Zara's defenses wavered. For the first time in a long time, she felt the urge to let someone in. Zara, whispering, I thought building a startup, earning money, would make me feel worthy. But it never goes away, the guilt. CJ's eyes glistened with understanding. CJ, guilt has a way of consuming us. But forgiveness is powerful, both forgiving him for his harsh words, and forgiving yourself for not having the time you wanted. Zara nodded, tears brimming. She quickly wiped them away, embarrassed. Zara, I don't know why I'm telling you this. CJ, maybe because you need to. And I'm here to listen, no judgments. They held each other's gaze, the intimacy of the moment thick in the air. Zara's heart pounded. She realized she was dangerously close to letting CJ see her most fragile parts, and that terrified her. Yet, it also felt like a relief, a gentle crack in the armor she'd built so carefully. After a long pause, CJ spoke again. CJ, if you ever need to talk more, I'm here. Zara nodded, then turned away, whispering a soft thank you that hung in the air like a promise. She headed back inside, heart thumping with a mix of vulnerability and strange comfort. Behind her, CJ remained under the mango tree, feeling a surge of protectiveness for the woman who, moments ago, allowed her pain to surface for the first time in years. The next morning dawned chaotic but electric. It was the day before the wedding, and final touches were being made. Caterers loaded vegetables into pots, decorators hung fresh drapes, and a flurry of relatives arrived with loud greetings and hugs. Zara slipped away to take a critical video conference with a potential US investor. Tola helped set up a makeshift office in one of the quieter rooms, ensuring a stable internet connection. Investor, on-screen Zara, thanks for meeting us. We've reviewed your financial breakdown. We're very interested, but we'll need a more hands-on approach. Are you open to relocating your operations to our San Francisco office? Zara's heart soared and sank simultaneously. This was the opportunity she had dreamed of. But relocating to the US would mean leaving Lagos and any possibility of truly rebuilding bonds in Enugu. Zara, yes, I'm definitely open to relocation. Let's discuss the timeline. The pitch went smoothly, and the investor seemed eager to sign. Zara ended the call, feeling a heady mix of victory and dread. She walked into the courtyard, phone in hand, scanning the bustling scene. Could she really uproot her life now? She spotted CJ across the yard, helping the DJ with equipment. A pang of something, regret, uncertainty, twisted in her chest. So much had changed within her in just a few days. Yet success demanded sacrifice, and she had always been willing to pay that price. Hadn't she? Tola found her lost in thought. Tola, earth to Zara. Are we celebrating the big pitch? Zara, forcing a smile. It went well. But a move to the US might be in the cards soon. Tola, wow. That's huge. Zara nodded, her gaze wandering to CJ, who was now chatting with some relatives, making them laugh. She pushed aside a swirl of conflicting emotions. Tomorrow was the wedding day, and she would make sure Uche's day was perfect, even if her own future felt dangerously uncertain. The morning of the wedding dawned, bright and full of promise. Traditional ceremonies took place first. The bride's family welcomed Uche with singing and dancing, followed by the official introductions of both families. Zara wore a stunning Nigerian dress for the occasion, the vibrant patterns draped elegantly around her figure. Mama Ebra showed up early, greeting everyone with genuine warmth. She took one look at Zara and beamed. Mama Ebra, you look beautiful, my dear. Zara, smiling politely, thank you, Ma. Meanwhile, tension simmered. Vaughn mingled with some guests, occasionally throwing pointed glances CJ's way. CJ tried to focus on his MC duties, but everyone could sense the undercurrent. Zara helped coordinate the bridal procession. She was busy aligning the bride's train when Mama Ebra approached her quietly. "Mama Ebra, I see the way CJ looks at you. He's a good man." Zara's cheeks burned, caught off guard by the older woman's directness. "Zara, we're just acquaintances, he's my brother's friend, that's all." Mama Ebra smiled knowingly. "Mama Ebra, a mother knows these things. Don't let pride or fear rob you of a blessing." Before Zara could respond, the bride's family began a ceremonial chant, signaling the next stage of the wedding. CJ took the microphone, guiding the sequence of events with a smooth charm that enthralled the crowd. But halfway through, Tola rushed over to Zara, whispering in her ear. "Tola, whispering your phone keeps ringing. Something about the app glitch. Sounds urgent." Zara's stomach twisted. She glanced at the joyous ceremony unfolding. This was a once-in-a-lifetime moment for her brother. Could she really abandon her post? Yet duty called. She snuck away from the throng to answer the call. The loud drumming and singing receded behind her as she slipped into the family's old living room. Operations manager, on phone. "Zara, the fix didn't work. Users are furious. We need you to make a decision on whether to roll back the entire update." Zara grimaced, knowing this could cost her their new investor. "Zara, do it. Roll back. We can't risk losing our user base. I'll handle the PR." She hung up, feeling the sting of missed celebration. The tension between family duty and business ambition loomed large. Would she always be torn in two directions? The traditional ceremony flowed seamlessly into the reception at the compound, transformed into a glamorous party. Fairy lights twinkled overhead as the newlyweds danced amid cheers and applause. CJ commanded the stage like a seasoned pro, cracking jokes that had everyone in stitches. Zara, relieved that her startup crisis was momentarily under control, tried to enjoy the festivities. She even joined a choreographed dance with the bridesmaids, drawing cheers from the crowd. After the dance, she stepped away to catch her breath near the edge of the courtyard, her skin glistening with sweat. "CJ, approaching you looked like you were having fun. Nice moves." Zara, laughing softly. "Well, I can't be all work and no play." Their eyes locked. The music pounded in the background, and they seemed momentarily cocooned in their own world. "CJ, I've been meaning to ask, how's your app crisis? Everything okay?" "Zara, for now. It's a mess, but we'll survive." A wave of vulnerability washed over her, remembering their late-night conversation under the mango tree. She felt a strange warmth toward him, a desire to let him in more deeply. The music slowed, shifting to a romantic tune. Impulsively, CJ took her hand, leading her to a quieter corner. She didn't resist. They were close now, the tension between them humming like an electric current. "CJ, softly, you deserve happiness, Zara." Zara, voice quivering. "So do you." Their faces inched closer, breath intermingling. She felt dizzy, overwhelmed by the conflicting emotions, attraction, fear, longing. Just as their lips nearly brushed, a voice cut through the moment like a blade. "Fawn, CJ, we need to talk. Now." They sprang apart, startled. Fawn stood there, her eyes betraying a hurt that spoke volumes about unfinished business. CJ looked at Zara apologetically, then left with Fawn. Zara exhaled, heart pounding. She felt both relieved that she hadn't completely crossed that line and disappointed at the abrupt interruption. The echoes of the almost kiss lingered between them, an unspoken promise and a vivid question mark all at once. The reception wound down, and the newlyweds departed under a shower of sparklers. Family and friends lingered, savoring the last remnants of celebration. Zara found CJ outside, near the makeshift stage, staring at the empty chairs. She approached cautiously. "Zara, you okay?" CJ, I had a talk with Fawn. She wants us to try again. Said she regrets leaving me. A stab of jealousy made Zara's chest tighten. But she kept her voice even. Zara, and what did you say? CJ, I told her I've moved on. Zara's relief was overshadowed by lingering tension. She could feel CJ wrestling with his emotions. Before she could comfort him, Tola called out. Tola, Zara, your startup partner on line 1. Says it's urgent. Zara's stomach sank. Another problem. She gave CJ an apologetic look and walked off, phone in hand. She found a quiet spot near the courtyard's entrance to take the call. Instantly, she was bombarded with frantic voices. The glitch had caused a PR nightmare, a major competitor was exploiting their vulnerability, and customers were demanding answers. Zara, on phone, do the rollback, issue a public apology, and set up a user compensation plan. I'll handle the press. She ended the call, heart pounding. As she turned, CJ stood behind her, arms folded. CJ, is this how it's going to be? You're here, then you're gone, always putting business first? Zara, angry you don't get it. This startup is my dream, my life's work. CJ, is that all your life is? Work? No wonder you're so closed off. Fury spiked within her. How dare he judge her? Zara, you know nothing about me. I'm trying to save my company, something I built from scratch. Not all of us have the luxury of a stable radio job and a supportive mother. CJ's eyes flashed with hurt. CJ, so that's what you think? That my life is easy? You have no idea the sacrifices I've made, the heartbreak I've endured. They stood there, eyes locked, the night air thick with tension. It dawned on Zara how much she'd misjudged him, how her own insecurities had fueled her anger. CJ, taking a breath, I'm sorry. I want you to see that there's more to life than work. And I don't want you to regret missing out on real connections. Zara bit her lip, tears stinging. She was too raw, too overwhelmed. Zara, I can't do this right now. She turned and hurried back into the house, leaving CJ standing alone in the moonlit courtyard, both of them grappling with unspoken desires and festering wounds. The midnight fight echoed in the silent darkness, a sign that their fragile bond might be cracking under pressure. In the early hours of dawn, CJ found himself unable to sleep. The words he'd hurled at Zara weighed heavily on his conscience. With a cup of tea in hand, he sat at his desk in his small apartment, staring at a blank sheet of paper. He began to write, a letter he never intended to send. Zara. I don't know why I'm writing this, but I need to tell you how I feel. I see so much strength in you, and beneath that, so much pain. I want you to know that it's okay to let someone in. You don't have to do everything alone. He poured his thoughts onto the page, his admiration, his frustration, his lingering hope that she might open her heart, not just to him but to her family and herself. By the time he finished, the sun was creeping over the horizon, casting soft light into the room. He folded the letter, placing it in an envelope. There was a gentle knock on the door. Mama Ebra stood there, wearing a concerned expression. Mama Ebra, you haven't slept, my son. Thinking about Zara? CJ exhaled, nodding. He handed her the letter. CJ, it's silly. I wrote it just to clear my head. Mama Ebra opened the envelope and read it silently. Tears glistened in her eyes. Mama Ebra, you should give this to her. CJ, no, Mama. It's too raw. Too soon. She held onto the letter, sliding it into her pocket. Mama Ebra, sometimes, words unsaid are the heaviest burden. She left CJ alone with his turbulent thoughts. The letter remained tucked away with Mama Ebra, a ticking time bomb of emotions that might change everything if it ever reached Zara's hands. The day after the wedding, the newlyweds embarked on their honeymoon. The family compound was oddly quiet, stripped of the decorations and the crowds. Zara helped clean up, directing a few workers to dismantle the canopies. Buche found her in the living room, stacking empty boxes. He looked grateful and a little remorseful. Buche, thank you for everything, Zara. The wedding was perfect. Zara, smiling wearily, I'm glad you're happy. They shared a brief hug, the tension of past estrangement replaced by a fragile but genuine bond. Buche hesitated, then spoke carefully. Buche, I know it wasn't easy for you to come back. But I hope we can keep building our relationship. Zara nodded, tears threatening to fall. Zara, I'd like that. She spent the rest of the day packing her belongings. Her startup crisis demanded her attention in Lagos, and she also had to prepare for the potential relocation to the US. She wanted to say goodbye to CJ, but he was nowhere to be found. As dusk fell, she lingered in the courtyard, remembering their almost kiss, their confessions under the mango tree. Tola approached softly. Tola, the taxi's here. Are you sure you don't want to stay a bit longer? Zara, no. It's time to go. She left without a formal goodbye to CJ. A mix of regret and stubborn pride churned in her stomach as the taxi drove through the gates. The looming transition in her life, possibly relocating abroad, felt heavier than ever. The taxi weaved through Enugu streets, heading toward the airport road. Zara gazed out the window, seeing the city in a haze of nostalgia and unfinished business. She flipped through the radio stations absent-mindedly, longing for some music to drown out her thoughts. Suddenly, she recognized a familiar voice. CJ, on air. Good evening, Enugu. Tonight, I want to share something personal, words I wrote but never delivered. Zara's pulse spiked. She exchanged a startled glance with Tola, who quickly turned up the volume. CJ, reading Zara, I don't know why I'm writing this, but I need to tell you how I feel. He read the entire letter, the one he had poured his heart into. Every syllable resonated through the taxi's speakers, stirring an avalanche of emotions. Tola's eyes widened, and she gripped Zara's hand in support. CJ, continuing, I wish you'd see yourself through my eyes, a brilliant, caring soul, too afraid to be hurt again. If only you'd risk it, you might find that not everyone leaves. Not everyone stops loving. Sometimes, you just have to believe. Tears rolled down Zara's cheeks. She felt stripped bare, trembling with the realization that CJ truly saw her, understood her. The taxi driver glanced in the rearview mirror, clearly confused by the emotional weight filling the car. When the letter ended, there was a long pause on the radio before CJ spoke again. CJ, maybe she won't hear this, but if she does, I hope she knows she's not alone. Zara's heart thundered. She had a choice, keep driving to the airport and vanish into her busy future, or turn around and confront the possibility of something new. Zara, voice quivering, driver, turn around. Tola gave her a supportive smile, tears in her eyes. Tola, you sure? Zara, yes. I can't leave without at least talking to him. The taxi screeched to a U-turn, heading back toward the city, a renewed sense of purpose guiding Zara forward. Night had fully descended when Zara arrived at CJ's place. Mama Ebra answered the door, a knowing smile lighting her face. Mama Ebra, he's at the mango tree, he goes there when he's troubled. Zara nodded, heart pounding, and headed straight for the old backyard mango tree. Lights from the neighboring houses cast soft shadows on the ground. She found CJ leaning against the trunk, head bowed. Zara, quietly CJ. He turned, eyes widening at the sight of her. CJ, you heard the broadcast? She nodded, stepping closer until she could see the emotion flickering in his eyes. Zara, yes. And I realized I can't leave without telling you how I feel. She swallowed hard, vulnerability thick in her throat. Zara, I'm scared. Scared of losing myself again, scared that love is just another way to get hurt. But I feel something with you, something I can't ignore. CJ's face softened, relief and awe dancing across his features. CJ, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to do everything yourself. A tear slipped down Zara's cheek. She closed the distance between them, letting him pull her into a warm embrace. The cool night air rustled the mango leaves above, witnesses to a new chapter unfolding. Zara, softly, I might have to go to the US soon. This might not be simple. CJ, I don't need simple. I just need real. Their lips met in a tender, overdue kiss, a seal to everything they had battled through: guilt, family dramas, heartbreak, ambition. In that moment, under the mango tree that had seen so many family gatherings, they let themselves hope for a shared future. Over the next few days, Zara extended her stay in Enugu, no longer in a rush to flee. Her startup crisis was being handled by her team in Lagos, and negotiations with the US investor were ongoing. She spent those days with CJ, discovering the little joys of Enugu, a picnic by the Milken Hills, a tour of CJ's favorite radio station hangouts, dinners with Mama Ebra, who fussed over them with beaming delight. The question of relocation loomed, but they approached it with honesty and openness. Zara, if I move, it doesn't mean I'm running away again. I want us to make this work. CJ, we will. I can visit, or maybe do some remote radio segments. The world is smaller than we think. Her heart felt light, as though she'd finally found a balance between love and ambition. They weren't perfect, she still had her controlling tendencies, he still had emotional scars from Fawn, but they were willing to grow together. On her last evening before heading back to Lagos, this time, with a plan to return often, Zara found CJ gazing at the night sky from the courtyard. She joined him, hand in hand. CJ, look up. The stars are so bright tonight. Zara, leaning her head on his shoulder, someone once told me that we can find stars in every promise, if we look hard enough. He smiled, recalling the day he chose the on-air phrase, signifying hope shining through darkness. CJ, I don't think I told you, but I'm proud of you, Zara. Proud of everything you are. She blinked back tears, letting his words warm her from the inside out. They stood there, content in a shared silence, hearts beating in a harmonious rhythm. For once, Zara allowed herself to believe that life was more than just success or failure. It was about the people we choose to let in, the promises we keep even when the world tries to pull us apart. And in that moment, under the timeless canopy of stars, she knew her journey was just beginning, rich with possibilities she had never dared to imagine. The end.